Things.
Yeah. S- So, Wes, to start this off, I'd like to introduce you. Um, I think we have not met in person, but we've
That's right.
exchanged plenty of emails and Zoom conversations with people, with Chaz Freeman and Charisma Manjir, and we had a chapter meeting last year. Um, but would you like to introduce to the folks who you are?
Okay. I'm Wes, as he just said. I'm a retired architect, about 50 years in practice, and I guess retired when recession came in 2008. Uh, had a had a firm, two of us. And we had about 25 jobs, and 6 months later, we had three jobs. And so he sold his house and went sailing with his wife for a year, and I finished the work. And since then, I've just been doing a variety of things, from public service work and more involved in the anti-war protests, both with New Hampshire Peace Action and Veterans for Peace, a local one for the Ukraine war, and also with the coalition that visits Shaheen's office and Pappas's office. And the coalition hasn't skirted the issue too much in telling Pappas we're not happy with him, and that we do like Charisma. And so far, he's seems a little edgy about hearing that, but not any major moves yet.
Yeah. You covered a lot of ground. So, starting with the architecture, right? Your career, is there anything we could point to that people could see your work?
Well, work first started when I came to Boston. I went to school in the Midwest in Ohio. Uh, and just as a reference for land grant college in Ohio, there's five of them. And my tuition for the first year was $600. You compare that to UNH land grant. Uh, talk
Wow.
about, but again, that was a number of years ago. But anyway, real awakening came. Many of the architects from the Midwest come to New York, which was a center of architecture at the time. But HUD was moving into Boston, and a number of us came to Boston. And so that was his worked in office, happened to be the dean of Harvard. Had just opened an office, and he was looking for people, so got welcomed right in. And it was very nice being around Harvard, visiting the design school, going up to MIT, visiting their design school, plus all the other cultural events going on, the museums and the theater and music. So it was quite different from the small town of 1100 in Ohio.
Yeah.
And so the first job after I got, well, actually, I got drafted while I was still in school because the dean failed to tell the draft board that a professional degree took more than 4 years. Uh, so after he found out that half the class got drafted, he let them know. And I got deferred till the next fall, which was very convenient because I got to go to London and work there for the summer and travel around Europe. So those 2 years were quite an awakening into things other than cornfields and cows in South Central Ohio.
Yeah.
And I got out of the service, worked with a firm in doing new UMass campus uh, in South Boston, where the Kennedy Library is. That was the largest project the Department of Public Works in Boston had done until they did the big dig. So that was, we had about 400,000 square foot building. So that was quite an education in itself. Uh, all kinds of consultants, built on the landfill, and taking care of all those problems that you might expect over a garbage dump. And
Hmm.
then uh, eventually I burned out and came up here in 74 to visit. I'm still visiting. I'm still here. And I worked with the surveyor when I came up here. Got a lot of uh, ideas about conservation and land use, which I didn't have in working, obviously working in Boston on a constricted site. And then actually went to work for an architect up in Center Harbor, did a Votech building in Manchester, and then a friend and I started a business, which we kept for a number of years until to one too many recessions.
Yeah.
So when the developers can't get the money, they're not going to hire us to do anything because they won't be able to afford to build anything. So I've done some work with the Main Street program in Rochester, and I'm on the Culture and Arts Commission here in Rochester now, besides the anti-war work.
Yeah. How busy does that keep you with the city?
Uh, Not much. If it was the planning board or the board of adjustment, then it would be. But the arts and culture is, uh, they really need to generate their own program. And so they just had a switch in number of people. And I'm fairly recent on it. So I'm not the one to tell them what to do at this point.
Hmm.
Maybe temper some of the things from my traveling around to other cities. But they don't have a strong program right now. So to answer your question, that the Cultural Commission is not overly busy, doesn't take up a whole lot of time now. My time, I guess, is to catch up in what they have been doing and
Okay.
try to keep track of what the planning board is doing. Hopefully, we can tie into it.
Well, going back to your time, where are you from originally?
I was born in Buffalo, New York. Lived there about 10 years. And my father worked for DuPont and he got transferred to South Central Ohio. DuPont in Houston, Texas developed Mylar. In South Central Ohio, there was a major underground river going through there, and there's a lot of water needed to fabricate Mylar. And so that's why DuPont picked that area. And so I was
Okay.
there about 10 years, went to school there, and then came east well, pretty much since 66. Was pretty much more focused on East Coast.
When did you find out you were drafted? Was it 66, 67?
66, about a draft notice while still in school because the
Yeah.
dean had so he took care of that, corrected where he failed to do it. And so actually, while I was working in London, uh, I, I was told when I got back I was already had been drafted again because I shouldn't have left the country, but uh, tried to find a draft permit job. Doing one at the University of Pakistan. We were doing 70 some buildings for World Bank International. I thought that might be good for a draft permit. And it wasn't. So I went worked with another firm that was three firms were in competition to do a building. And the client said, we want somebody that hasn't done a high rise. That particular architect says, we're in. We've never done a high rise. Well, I didn't get the job. And so another uh, escort to the front door and out to the street. But Ohio finally said, unless you're a teacher or a farmer, we think maybe you should show up. And that leads to the draft. It was the very peak of the draft, 67. Vietnam was really building up. And they said, oh, you've been to school. You'll be in supply. You can count. And so when we got over there, the sergeant that was welcoming all the people and telling me, he says, what are we going to do with all these supply people? Because he
Wow.
had all the college graduates. And
Yeah.
so uh, got shipped up to a forward base with the 11th and the CAV, a group of us, and we were supposed to build a evac pad for the hospital for the helicopters. And so we were inside the wire. So we had artillery and mortars protecting us, and 11th Armored Cav on the outside of the wire. And my job, since a new supply, was to go to Saigon once a week and steal or borrow, uh, reallocate what we
Yeah.
needed for the group, and then go in and put in a requisition that said we want it, and be told, "Oh, we don't have any." Well, now you can order some, even though there's half a dozen still out there. Anyway, so that's what I did with them, and then so the primary concern was I wasn't in combat missions. Uh, was to take care of the men that were.
Mhm.
That was the focus. Keep things moving. And we got back to the main base. Again, set up uh, I guess, fake supply chain. So we always had stuff on hand uh, rather than wait 6 weeks for a part to show up while people are waiting, standing around. So again, that was trying to help the men do their job. And again, not in combat, sort of mentally injuries, but not physical injuries.
Yeah. So when you get your draft letter, you get your draft notice, you eventually have to go. You go to basic. Where was basic?
It was in Columbia, South Carolina.
And you this time, are you getting a little worried?
I
What's
was
your
sort of knew where we were going to go. Uh, After basic, I said, well, that's when they said, oh, supply, you'll go to supply school. She did. And I think there were about 50 of us in the class. And who wants to be a teacher? And one man had been a teacher. He said, good, we've got 50 teachers. So the idea was to keep you in state until you had 13 months left. Then they sent you over for the 1 year in Vietnam. And you got out when
okay?
you came back with 3, 4 weeks left because it wasn't
Oh,
worth them to reassign you.
got it. Okay, I didn't know that.
But we did have one man that didn't go to Vietnam. His father happened to be a diplomat in Paris.
Hmm.
He went to Europe and joined the spy.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So you did your 13 months?
No, the Marines did 13, the Army did 12.
You did do 12. Okay. Did 12 months, you get out, and what's going on? What time frame are you getting out? Because 68 is around, yeah, when did you get out? When did you get back to the
We got out
States?
fall of 68.
Fall of 68.
Yeah.
Okay, so the big protest for the DNC already happened in
Yeah.
68?
Yeah. 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 When we got out, they were reacting, the military was reacting to these protests. They would let us out of the processing thing late at night to take us to the airports. Hopefully, no protesters or not many around at that time. And then you could fly out. So, yeah, there were plenty of unhappy people. Well, even in 67, when I was in London, there were plenty of unhappy people protesting Americans in Vietnam.
Yeah, when speaking of, do you remember when the Pentagon Papers came out when Senator Mike Gravel
That was,
spoke?
I thought, in the early 70s, I thought.
Yeah. Okay, go on.
Uh, so, well, I guess it shows that they were doing the same thing they're doing now. They only want you to know certain things.
Yeah. Yeah, because so between you getting back in fall of '68 and the release of the Pentagon Papers, were there still compared to today, were there how big were the anti-war protests?
Wasn't
Was it
on the
small?
scale, at least at the university, because I worked my office was halfway between Harvard and MIT, and there weren't large protests like now. The biggest one I remember was when Kent State happened, and there was a big protest down at the Boston Common, and they followed Mass Ave all the way in through Cambridge. Uh, but that was the only big one I recall. I didn't go looking for them then. I was focused on the career at that time. It wasn't until I think I got really involved when I was doing a job in Portsmouth, and it was a Friday, and I came up to Market Square, and there was Seacoast Peace Response having a vigil. And so I joined in and arranged all my job meetings to be Friday afternoon so I could join them every week.
Wow. What was the first time? What year?
That was that would be 2003, I think.
Okay. You
Was
seeing them and whenever you respond to an email, I send out the chapter. You let me know. Market Square.
Yeah. Well, I still go down there Sundays,
Mm-hmm.
and this coming Sunday, I'll stop at the Bridge Brigade south of Dover on the way down,
Mm-hmm.
and we have one in Rochester for Ukraine, and I joined the coalition in Dover on Wednesdays. So
Yeah. And the coalition you're referring to, that's the New Hampshire Coalition for a Just Peace in the Middle East, right?
correct. Yeah,
And then that's a coalition of organizations for which VFP, our chapter, is a part of, and ending the violence in the Middle East.
yeah. I think last night at the talk, uh, Amy mentioned how many groups now. I forget the exact number, but it was a large number of groups that are tied in with New Hampshire, well, peace action countrywide.
Yeah, the coalition of organizations growing. And I have to thank you for attending because I've been unable to attend those now. Change of work at home.
Yeah. Well, I'm old and retired, so I get to go outside and donate.
Yeah. Going going back to how was it perceived? Would someone back in the before the war was over, if you recall, before or after the war was over, were you given a special status as a veteran, as someone who served in Vietnam when people talk to you?
Uh, I associated with, well, I came back to the small town in Ohio, and I associated with a couple other Vietnam vets. So maybe we were, uh, and that was, I'd say that was probably a red town. So we weren't ridiculed. We were accepted that we supposedly did our duty.
Hmm.
So it wasn't like the big protests you might see on the east or west coast. Uh, this was middle America.
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of veterans there, and the town was, I'd say, about 10 miles south of a big SAC base. So there were other military people around too.
Between what did you think was going on? Did you have feelings about what the strategy was while you were there?
Um, I think the strategy changed with Tet and realized that they weren't winning like they intended. Uh, And I think they were somewhat of a drawback in trying to hold their own, and that's when they were uh, aiming to turn it over to the South Vietnamese uh, and trying to back out, which they did in 73, finally.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was your feeling when you were over there, right? And that's
That we weren't getting anywhere. Just
and yet the last day, because we just had the anniversary, right? The Vietnam Veterans Day, March 29th,
yeah.
the last soldiers to leave Vietnam. Um, and to think that even when you got back in 68, it was still going to be another 5 years, well, 4.5 years before the
Hmm.
last troops would be pulled out. Um,
We,
and sorry.
we'd been messing around there since right after World War II. And
Yeah.
Eisenhower was a big proponent of Southeast Asia actions, and France wanted to regain their colonial powers there in Indochina.
Hmm. Yeah, the number I have at hand is 9 million US service members were in Vietnam between 55 and 75.
Wow.
That's an incredible number. I don't know, is it like maybe 2 million had served? Not 2 million. Actually, I don't have a number offhand for how many people were in Iraq overall or Afghanistan overall, how many people served. I think it maybe two over for everything, but 9 million is a lot of people who have a lot of Vietnam veterans.
Yeah, at the height of the war, maybe 3 or 4 million were siphoned through country. So that's another 5 million going in all the rest of the time. And I don't know how many consultants we left there after 73.
Yeah, yeah. The and the union leader just had, I think Will Thomas had just shared an article in the union leader about the Vietnam Veterans Day. Um, and there were some quotes I pulled from it because I believe the reporter went up to the Vietnam Veterans Home, or it's the Veterans Home up in Tilton,
Yeah.
and some of the quotes that I'm not going to say the name, but I'll put it up as an info, or I'll link it and put it up here. But I come home with ghosts, as the veteran explained that his family has an extensive history of military service, and that because he had a security clearance, he had a lot of secrets, and he's been holding it in, and how that takes a toll on you, holding this back, not being able to share what you experienced, what was going on.
I have a T-shirt that said, "I left Vietnam, but Vietnam didn't leave me."
Yeah.
And it's uh, it's a sort of separate story. If you read about how the military I call it brainwashing the troops. That there was a study after World War II. That a lot of men had shot up in the air or never shot their rifles. So
Mhm.
they started training them about how they should hate the enemy. And then they did some more after Korea and more after Vietnam. But the acupuncture therapist I have, he saw my no kings button and he agreed. But I guess the brainwashing is working on the troops because he said he gets a lot of the younger veterans really gun ho, really favorable on the war and what they think is a mission of going over and beating on people's heads as opposed to war not being the answer. So the propaganda is working by the government on the troops. They've improved their ability to convince people killing is good.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I am surprised by of all the veterans I've spoken to or service members about this war in Iran. the range of approval for this, or the range from disapproval to approval, it is a mixed bag. Depending if Iran has always been the arch nemesis, or it's loyalty to Trump, or it's whatever the president says we go, or it's all over the place. There's no, you can't wrap it up in a succinct way to say how veterans feel about this war, but there is certainly what you're speaking to. There are people that are gung ho for this.
Well, I have three Magna people around me, along with a Free Stater, so I'm uh, certainly not the sole anti-war, or I am the sole anti-war person in this little blob of neighborhood. But
Okay.
we don't talk politics because we know where each of us stands.
Hmm.
And some of them were get pretty lively, so best not to prod anybody.
Yeah. Oh, that's difficult because it's isn't it this is what affects all of us, and to be able to communicate about these things, because we imagine like what's best for our society. I
Yeah.
imagine you all think of what's best for society, and it's yeah.
I have a number of posters like the pictures I sent you. Uh, I tell people when pile them back in the car, we have the Vietnam Veteran for Peace one and the Love Not Hate one that I got from Alton. Keep those on the top so that the neighbors walking by don't get aggravated.
Oh, nice, nice. The from that same I listened to, I read a report, because down in DC they had speaking to the Vietnam Veterans Day. They had an anniversary down in DC, some ceremony where Secretary of Defense Hegseth and Secretary of the VA Doug Collins attended, and they spoke to a group of Vietnam veterans. I want to read Collins, the VA secretary, his statement. Thank you to this generation who could have stopped, who could have gotten mad, who could have gotten bitter, and who could have turned away from the very country that had sent it. But thank God you remembered why you raised your right hand, why you went, because when you came home, you looked forward, and that is the forward thinking that brings us here today. How
And
does that resonate with you?
I don't know how forward thinking we are. We're I thinking about a couple of books. You remember All Quiet on the Western Front, the book, and then I think it was a film. But the author wrote a second book following the troops home in Germany after the war and what they went through, uh, which might relate to winning or losing. Uh, you have problems, you come home with problems. Mm, mm.
And part of what he's saying too is that you stuck with it regardless of how you felt about the war. Um, how is when you know something, so the Pentagon's papers come out, the question of what the mission is, like what are we doing here? Are we trying to leave? Um, what is it what does it mean to uphold this and still do this and just do your job and keep your head down and don't
Uh,
question the leadership?
there was so many were drafted at that time, and mostly uh, staying out of trouble, keeping, as you say, keep your head down and count the days till you go home. I guess I was a little too noisy. Supposedly, you have a interview on the way out uh, to convince you to read up. Well, the man forged it, so he wouldn't even have to talk to me. So I guess I didn't think I was that vocal about what a non-good thing we were doing. But the attitude was there weren't many draft people where I was that were gun ho. It was just let's get by and you know we don't want to be here and we hope that we intact.
Oh, what do you wish was going on? What do you wish from leadership, from Congress? What do you wish?
I don't think Congress is doing much at all right now, either party. Uh, well, the Republicans are playing up to Trump, uh, but I would wish they would assert the authority that they're supposed to have, which they don't seem to be doing. And I don't know how much Trump's approach to things is going to change how things finally end up working, uh, and how much Congress will be able to adapt and counter if there are major changes that stay from what Trump does. I'm sort of at a loss about what will happen.
Yeah, the because the War Powers Resolution, that was 73,
Yeah,
right? This is Nixon's term, but 73, the first boots on the ground offensive conventional forces was 65, and that took 8 years for the first. And Nixon vetoes it, but Congress reasserts and votes for it. So they're gonna take away funding for it, and so the drawdown has to happen. But oh my goodness, again, the war powers, we just had ours fail, three of them now, I believe, right? Two or three for this war in Iran?
uh, two at least, you know.
At least two, and there's a couple more coming up this week in Senate and House. Yeah, two. We've had two.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a couple more coming up. Today's the 10th. It's a Friday of April. Um, and they came through on when they came through for the War Powers Resolution in 73. What was so clear that both houses, bipartisan support, majority support for ending funding for this war?
I
What
have,
was it?
I have heard the term "you can't have guns and butter," and it was financial, that how much the war was taking and impacting other programs.
Okay. Wow, how the times changed.
Yeah,
So what
well,
is in the sorry, go on.
but well, they're impacting now too. We'll see if there's any reaction. But Congress is tiptoeing around, it seems.
Yeah, they're unable to, well, it seems like there's never enough money for the war effort against any enemy. There is no enemy. There's just we need more money for this.
Yeah.
So
So
we're gonna ask
how many
so we're
friends are in the producing military equipment? Friends of the White House or
yeah.
the administration.
Yeah, it seems quite lucrative. You're just handing out federal tax dollar or should say federal funding, printing money to now we're going to up it 50%. We're going to go from about a trillion to 1.5 for DOD. It's insane.
Well, your
I,
lights going out?
yeah, yeah. So, so after Vietnam, was there other foreign policy things that you were paying attention to? You were looking at any stuff in the 80s in the Latin America?
No, I really, folks, I had this thought of, well, a lot of friends did serve in the military and I needed to catch up in the career. And so we were, well, when the recession came, it was 60 hours a week or out the door also. So, and there were only two of us finally during construction for this 400,000 square foot building. So we took one day a month off. So
Wow.
pretty focused on work and not trying to ignore foreign policies. It was bitter about it, unhappy about it, I guess, not bitter, but displeased.
Did you join Vietnam Veterans Against the War?
I did, yes.
what year did you find them and join the ranks?
I I don't recall. I think
And then,
it was after I came up from Boston, so it would be after 74.
okay,
I don't know when they were formed. I don't think they were formed in 74, were they? I don't
I'd have
recall.
to I'd have to look. But VFP doesn't come out, Veterans for Peace doesn't come around till 1985.
Yeah.
Did you, what did you know about, how did you find VFP?
Maybe from the Vietnam veterans
Yeah.
groups that referenced it.
So when did you become a member?
Another question I'm not sure of the answer.
Was it, I try to think of like which president. Was it under Reagan? Was it Clinton?
Probably Clinton. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. What was he up to? I'm
Uh,
trying to,
I remember when he got impeached, he sent off a bunch of rockets to do
yeah.
things.
Yeah, we needed to bomb, we needed to aerial bombard Iraq, right?
Mhm.
For WMDs, or they're not following the sanctions. I forget what exactly. There was bombing of Yugoslavia, right? Yeah, breaking up because of oh, I always butcher his name, Slobodan Milosevic, from Serbia. But that was at the time. I think the Lewinsky scandal had broken.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so VFP, and then you met Will Thomas shortly after.
Yeah. I don't know where we met up. One of the protests, probably.
Yeah.
And Will had going back to the drawings. Will had suggested that with my various sketches, uh, protests, I make up a little booklet of the various protests. I'm doing one right now of I did one of No Kings One down at Week Circle or north of Dover. And Rochester had number two, and uh, we had number three here in Rochester, and I went up to Alton. So I've got sketches of all those, and I did one of the Dover Five as well. Made a booklet. So Will has set me off to, since I don't write letters, he set me off to do something I might be able to do.
You've sent me some artwork. It's great. I really enjoy what you've shared with me. I like to feature it. It's lovely
Use
work.
it, use it any way you wish.
Well, I think
Even
people
claim
should
it as
see it.
your own if you want.
And the VA, we spoke, and I haven't been able to reach out. You obviously use the VA. You're in touch with the people that run the recreation division there.
Yes, it's very nice that they do. They have a art therapy group. They have a writers group. They have a pet therapy group. Uh, and from listening to people in those groups, there are quite a number of other things that they do. I know they have hiking groups and bicycle groups,
Mhm.
uh, various. I think they have a bowling group. They get a list of probably 15 in-person events and then 15 video events. The yoga is video, which is don't like the idea of driving 45 minutes to Manchester for a 45-minute session and driving 45 minutes back. So that's very nice.
Yeah. And you had introduced me to it. They have an arts program where some of your work
Correct.
is featured.
Yeah, they had usually been in the spring, but this year it's in Sarah said it's going to be in the fall. This time they'll announce a new program. And I think there's maybe next Friday some recognition for the people that got district and national honors. There's one man that is a writer, and I think he got a second place nationally. He does some very nice work. Uh, but I'm unclear what that's going to be, if it's going to be work that's being shown or if it's just going to be stand there and get a pat on the back. So I probably won't go over to Manchester to find out which it is. But anyway, yeah, they had, and I don't know whether you saw it, Sarah did have go and Val go around and show all the work uh, by video
Hmm.
before they have the actual open house where you can come and physically stare at it rather than on the screen.
Yeah, I
So
gotta get over there and see it.
yeah, I well until they announce when they're going to start the competition, and I don't even know when the time to turn it in is going to be. Uh, and then the staff there has they judge it, and then they have the open house where people are invited to come. Well, you can't buy it. I give it
Hmm.
away.
That's nice. That's nice that they have a program to do this.
Yeah, the Courier had they've only done it once this year. They were much more active before, where they had art therapy for vets. And they did have it the meeting every other week. So that's where I wanted to draw some that and the VA. But they had changing uh, directors and board and cut back on that program.
Yeah, as of late, I've heard only since the new administration, I've only heard quite negative and awful things are happening to the VA funding.
Yeah, yeah. I just saw something this morning about other cuts, and I've noticed quite a slowdown in things. I think the last acupuncture approval I got took 6 weeks, so there was a big gap of no treatment.
And you go to Manchester for this?
No, I go to the Somersworth branch. Well,
Okay. Oh,
actually,
that's right. Yeah.
the Somersworth branch farmed it out to the Dover Hospital for the
Yeah, that's some,
acupuncture.
yeah, the letting go of staff and outsourcing
Mm,
or reallocating resources to, I don't know what to say about that for when you say farm it out to that organization. Well, yeah, essentially under privatization,
mm.
outsourcing, and then they can get their hands in the federal tax dollars, or I should say federal funds.
I think it was what I read was some cutback in the federal funds going to the VA
Mm,
in grants.
okay.
I don't recall whether it even said the percentage. Might have been a preliminary report saying it was in the coming budget that's going to be submitted. Again, like many other things, cut to pay for the war.
Yeah. Yeah, and this one's going to cost this recent, even the small window that we've been having a war with Iran. This one, after you get done with the VA benefits, the VA care for all the service members, I think it's up to, I don't know if it's over 600 people. Service members have been listed as casualties, wounded in some way, and caring for those people for the rest of their lives to the degree that uh, the disability rating, the pay, the family resources allocated to them, this is going to cost. It's already over 30 billion, but by the time it's done, I can't imagine the number just for this one alone.
Yeah, I have a friend that works in the admitting in the EM, and he said they're swamped. Uh, some of it from the flu going around, but some of it from uh, some of the returning vets cycling through before a new batch goes over. And as you say, sure it's going to increase. And
Yeah.
I think one of the think of it, one of the focuses of the VA now is expanding the mental health. Uh, some of the psychologists talking about the moral pain of being in a war that you don't agree with,
Yeah.
and that can be on both sides. I've read that about some Israeli soldiers as well. They're also going to have a burden. And, I'm thinking of back to Vietnam. Uh, a vet went over and met a North Vietnamese soldier. And the North Vietnamese soldier comes up and wraps his arm around, welcome, brother. And the American was sort of taken aback. And the man's answer was, it's not us, it's our governments that are doing it. Mm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm
And it,
thinking that the North Vietnamese soldier was speaking in English too, where he probably didn't learn their language very well.
no,
Mm.
probably just a handful, right? The
Yeah.
interpreters, if they didn't
Well,
work with,
I do go
sorry.
to Summersworth Children's Fair, and so I have a table about Vietnam. A couple of times I've had vets walk up and speak Vietnamese to me. They were in that some
Oh,
form of
wow.
uh, some form of diplomatic work where they had to know the language. It was
You've, yeah.
really surprising because I had no idea what they were saying.
Huh. No, I can't relate. I can't relate to that story.
Um,
That's interesting. The you've been a veteran since 68, right? You come
yeah.
back over the decades. How has that changed? Having that status when people talk to you or relating to war, how do you feel as what do you feel has changed? Or has it not changed?
Uh, well, I think since Vietnam, we've had a lot of uh, unsuccessful or poorly planned uh, wars, invasions, and people are just not gun ho about it, like say um, some of the leaders might have hoped that the country's going to be behind them. So I find a lot of people are not favorable to going off to another war, and I do get people saying they offer respects for having served, but and also saying, "Well, I'm sorry you had to do it too." So
For this particular war, or say, well, how did you feel for the invade? How did you feel about the invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq? Does
uh,
anything stand out to you?
mistakes.
Uh,
Afghanistan, I was thinking, well, is this going to be another Vietnam? Are we in there for the long term again
yeah.
for not good results?
For so were you public? Were you vigiling against that? Because you said in 2003 you started vigiling, right?
Right.
On
Yeah.
Fridays?
One of the pictures I sent you, it's where it's Trump's face and it's got the big tin ears. That
Hmm.
was actually a full-size blow-up of Mr. Bush used during one of the earlier wars. He just happened to be wearing a blue suit and a red tie. I said, well, isn't that handy?
Yeah. Wow.
So I just
How
took my drawing of the face and stuck it on there.
so you're out, you're vigiling, you're protesting against the war, you're public about this. How was it perceived being a veteran saying this, someone who served in Vietnam?
Uh, it's favorably received that somebody that experienced war, even not in combat, shooting people, but still it's respected that, yeah, you were there and you're speaking with something that I don't understand and never experienced. And you take your word for it that it's not good. Uh, Naturally, there's the people listening to Fox News and uh, that are not happy with protesting.
Yeah.
Got told to go get a job, and some of us standing there says, "Isn't that guy eyesight pretty bad? He can't see. We're all old. We're not going to be rushed out and get a job."
Oh my goodness.
And that's disappointing in that we don't have that many young people join us,
Yeah.
which is something to work on. And this,
Yeah. When you say not that many young people in the peace movement itself or for particular causes?
I was talking with a man who came up to the Ukraine vigil yesterday. He said his mother's a school teacher right up at Spalding here in Rochester. He said the kids just don't seem to be motivated on much at all. Uh, Almost like they've given up on a future, and they've reached a point, well, they protest about everything. They shouldn't have to do homework. They shouldn't even have to show up. Uh, Quite a different attitude. So if they're that unhappy about being committed to something, I can see why they might not be committed to this.
Mhm.
Uh, Maybe if the draft were grabbing people, they might be a little more excited about it. I read something this morning that the government's working on automatically signing people up rather than the men having to go down and sign up. When that might
Oh,
take effect, I don't know. Mm, but they're working towards it.
I heard, I think the first time I heard that, so a couple years ago, in relation to listening about what we were doing to enable Israel to commit a genocide in Gaza, I was listening to Colonel Wilkerson, the undersecretary or assistant secretary to Secretary of State Colin Powell, right? The invasion of Iraq in 2003. And it was a couple years ago that I first heard that the draft, getting rid of the draft was a mistake. And then I hear John Vale, our fellow member here in New Hampshire, that getting rid of the draft was a mistake because it forced anybody who got called up to go and have to serve for the war. And by making it a volunteer army, you could have people like Dick Cheney, right? Vice president under Bush say they signed up for it. They knew what they were getting into.
Yeah, I would like to see everybody serve in some form, whether it's civic duty,
Mm,
uh, and I think that's done in a number of European countries. Uh, Not serving necessarily serve in the military, but serve some kind of public service.
yeah. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Public Works. What did we have? The CCCP or CCC?
Yeah,
Conservation Corps here back in the 40s, 50s?
that was more of a salvation situation than with all the unemployment and
Yeah.
depression. But anyway, yeah, it certainly saved a lot of people
Yeah.
and got a lot done.
Yeah. Again, investment in public jobs to build infrastructure, to do things that otherwise wouldn't be done, to employ people.
and learn some skills as well.
and learn some skills. Wonder what that would look like if that was mandatory at the age of 18. You graduate high school and you have to spend 2 years in some sector of the public service, right? Public service.
I don't know how the reaction. I imagine immediately the reaction would not be so good. Uh, Eventually, I think,
Depending on the pay.
yeah.
Oh, what else, Wes? What would you like to we're gonna do this for a few more minutes. What else would you like to share about?
Well, I'd like to put in a plug for the penny poll,
Oh
that
yeah.
poster I sent you. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and you probably know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I didn't realize it till Amy sent it around. It's a national program, getting people involved in saying how they want their money spent. And ours is we have a board with 10 slots where and we hand people 10 pennies and put it in there where you'd like to see the money go. And I'm pleased to say education is almost always the winner. And considering what the legislature is doing this year, there might be even more excitement about education. So I'm hoping people would like to come help uh, control people into voting. And it's from 11 to 12, 11 to 1 at Market Square on tax day on the
Yeah.
15th. So that's my plug to,
Yeah. It's even for the spending on the war in Iran, because it hit as of 2 days ago, it hit 35 billion. Oh, is that a cat?
yeah, I just dropped a pencil on his head. We'll see if he jumps up here or not. Yeah,
That's
there he
okay.
comes. Try
Who
to
is
keep
this?
him, try to keep him from typing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. What's the name? What's the name of your cat?
He's named Orange Blossom Special.
Orange Blossom Special.
And I'm a train freak. And the Orange Blossom Special was a train that went from New York to Miami for snowbirds.
Oh,
And
okay.
if you've heard the fiddle tune, Orange Blossom Special, it's about the train. It was written about the train.
No.
And the train went in the 30s. And so I was told it was an all orange cat. I didn't realize it was going to be
Oh,
half
that's
and
funny.
half there, but you must have a gentle voice. Usually he does not like other voices coming into his house. He
No.
would go upstairs and guard the closet.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, well, yeah. I don't know.
Hmm.
Well, Wes, I hope the penny poll influences some people to pay more attention to public spending. I hope it gathers some more people with interest into just where we're putting our federal dollars, right? They're
Yeah,
printing these things and pumping into war. What else could they pump it into?
I've got some charts to bring along to show where it does go.
Yeah.
And, uh, you count it all up and send it to various papers, hoping they'll make a story out of it. They'll, as Amy said, write the story for them. Better chance to get published. Hmm.
Well, I hope it does get covered. It's really important. This is a waste of opportunity. Is this war is costing us a lot.
And we haven't done it for a couple of years, so it's quite a change this year compared to when we last did it because we didn't Uh, we did it during the Iraq War. We had one man come up and take all 10 of his votes into the nuclear military, but that was unusual. Uh, but there a lot of gap without the war going on there in between. And so now with it going on, we'll see what different reaction we get.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow up with you on that. Uh, Wes, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you.
No, this has been great, and I look forward to getting an update and following up with you in an email.
Yeah, well, maybe Wednesday night there after the 15th, or at least the next morning, send the information to you. You can pass it around.
That sounds good.